Got to get that transition so much better. Facebook, YouTube, are you there? We got 5 people. We got Mr. Pirate, Mr. Cubby. We're missing baseball, people. We're missing baseball.
It's coming back. It's coming back. They're figuring something out. They're dotting the T's and dotting the I's and the T's and the crossing stuff.
So this is how in sync Matt Stocke and David Stringer are. I went to do my wardrobe change. I came home from the workplace, and I was getting in. What?
Sure.
Okay. I was getting into my okay, what am I going to wear tonight? I think I'm going to wear baseball tonight.
Yeah.
So we start our stream, that sounded bad. We start our whatever this is, and you've got a baseball hat on, Pirates. I had a baseball t-shirt on, Cubbies, yeah. Go Cubs. Man, that's weird. That's the universe like, hey guys. Yeah.
Also, it is part of the reason why I'm feeling this today, not only because Major League Baseball has started something moving. Of course, they forgot to ask the players, whatever. Is that also here in New York City today, it's like 85 degrees. Saturday, it was 40 degrees and snowing. Wow. Saturday.
Yeah.
40. Today, 85 degrees. Which is why, and I apologize if it's throughout the show, there's going to be noise from 49th Street.
Sorry.
I can't close the windows. It's freaking hot.
That's cool. Hey, so hello, lovely TPFC people. Happy Friday. This is your podcast, Toilet Paper Fortune Cookie, a podcast. Unorthodox Wisdom from Unexpected Reality.
Damn right.
Hey, Matt, will you remind everybody what that means?
Absolutely. If only I understood, Dave. We're figuring it out as we go, and that's pretty much the whole point of why we started this thing. Our podcast seeks to discuss the aspects of entrepreneurship, things that Dave and I hold very near and dear to our hearts, with the idea of focus on businesses and the arts. And how those two come together, how we've both dabbled in both places, our feet in the arts world, in the business world, and how the two sort of commingle. And we're here to share our experiences, and we've been doing that now for a month, and it's been fantastic. But we've discovered, and the reason why we started doing this is because in this time of weirdness, we've had to find nuggets of wisdom in otherwise maybe previously unturned rocks. So that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to, figure it out moving on. And I think there's a huge opportunity, something I'm going to keep saying today, opportunity.
Absolutely. Oh, the doorbell. Hey, so that's what you get when it's live. I think we just got a delivery. So I hope our audience enjoys our stories and interviews, and perhaps you can help us discuss some of our experiences. If you like what you hear, insert YouTube subscription request. So if you like what you hear, please go to our YouTube page. It is Toilet Paper Fortune Cookie on YouTube. Subscribe, hit that little red button that says subscribe. And help us grow our audience for this podcast if you like what we're doing. If you don't like what we're doing, please close your browser, shut off your phone, and go run into the woods somewhere.
Says
okay, never mind. Sorry, that might have been, no, come back. I'm just kidding. So, hey, what are we drinking tonight?
What are you drinking, Dave?
I have a rushed Moscow Mule. And what that means is vodka, ginger beer. Because I was running a little late.
I'm drinking what they call, in Germany, where I lived for a while, a Weißweinschorle.
Okay, English, please.
Weißweinschorle Weißweinschorle, which in English is white wine spritzer. Because why not? Because it's 85 degrees out. It is made up of, what am I drinking? This is, I'm not even going to say it. I'm drinking Yellowtail because it's cheap. Yellowtail and seltzer water.
Hey, that's nice.
Is anybody watching us on Facebook? We got no live comments. We got no. What's happening? Is anybody there?
Yeah, nobody's checking in yet. I haven't been. Hold on. Let's see.
I'm gonna sip on my white wine Schorle.
There we are. Okay, yeah, everybody's pretty quiet out there. So there we go. We got some people watching, but no comments yet. So what? Come on. Happy Friday, everybody. Somebody cheers us for something. So yeah.
Let us know you're okay.
Right.
Call us when you get home.
Right. Exactly. So big news. Your friend Nick woke up.
He did.
Huge news.
Yep.
Huge. You want to talk to us about that a little bit?
Yeah. Nick's wife, Amanda, has done a couple of the morning shows the last couple of days. Nick woke up. Nick woke up from the coma he had been in for about 6 weeks. And he's got a long fight ahead of him. The toll it's taken on his body, apparently, the doctor said it looks like he had aged about 50 years. It's amazing. The insides, especially looking at the X-rays of his lungs, and it's going to take a lot of recovery. But number one, he's responding to what Amanda says to him on. They do the little FaceTime things, and I mean, the guy woke up after 6 weeks, probably
incredible,
in a bit of shock and not knowing where he was, and also had his right leg amputated. So there's going to be. I mean, how do you even begin? But the first thing needed to happen, and it happened, and he woke up. So. Everybody's thoughts and prayers and good vibes. Step number one.
Yeah, we'll continue to channel that. So, and then last week, as a quick little review, we had Richard H. Blake on. Had a great discussion about Broadway and how they are going to start to figure things out and performances and how, it was a great conversation. Check that out on YouTube. It's out there. Hey, we crossed 500 members on our group page. Hey, people. Thank you. That's amazing. We're hoping to continue to grow that, and we'll see how that can also grow on our YouTube page.
Indeed. So, yes, subscribe, click like, subscribe, follow, like.
Absolutely. And quick little health update, sir. You're good. You're feeling good. You look like you're feeling good. You still got that beautiful complexion of yours. And,
I'm all puffy right now. I was jogging.
You said you had 2 workouts today. The first wasn't good enough.
Feeling like I wanted to just blow it out today. It's also the
overachiever. Jesus.
Weather. I know, but that's just today. That means I don't have to work out tomorrow. Yeah, I mean, the weather is part of it too. Like, it just seems like one of those days where you sort of had to get outside. And
I don't think it has anything to do with the weather. I think you purposefully worked out twice because what you were trying to do was work out the aggression of this next segment that we're going to ease into. I have a stopwatch, and go, Mr. Stocke.
Oh, I'm gonna tilt a little bit here, Dave. This little segment was going to be called "Shut the F Up," but I don't want it to be that because it's not what it's intended to mean.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so wait, I need to time out here, and I need to kind of sort of introduce our guest. I'm not going to bring her on, but Jessica Michaels is going to be our guest tonight. I think everybody is going to be absolutely floored, blown away. I can't believe the show we're going to have tonight. And we were in rehearsal yesterday, and Matt Stocke was on skin was peeling back. It was like, I am going to, and Jessica was like, okay, I would like for you to process this and think about that. And then all of a sudden, Stocke was like, all right. Okay, all right. It worked. It
worked. Those who know me best know that I don't really get too mad about anything. But it's in our hopes of pivoting, as we talk about so often. Hey Mel, we got another.
Mel. Welcome, Kevin Jordan.
We have a relative in the mix. No, my reason yesterday for being a little fired up is the rancor, not to be confused with the rancor from Star Wars, but the overwhelming glut of, in my opinion, misdirected and or useless anger on social media. I don't want to say for a second that people should not be upset. People should not be emotional about this time. Not for a second. I'm not saying cheer up everybody and stop your bitching. No, not saying that. It's the idea that perhaps that energy can be better used. That we're probably not going to change many minds by continually railing or preaching to our own congregation. It may make us feel better for a second, and I've been guilty of it. Lord knows I've been guilty of it. But maybe, just maybe right now, as we move into this next phase, that it would be more constructive, and certainly I'm trying my best on my part to do this, to use that energy in a different way. That it's not just what I've been trying so hard to not do, which is stare at an effing computer all day long. Because it's so easy to do, because we don't really have a lot to do. So that part is where the shut the F up come from. It's not that your ideas are unimportant. It's not that your emotion is not real. It's not that I'm trying to tell anybody that they shouldn't be nervous or they shouldn't be anxious about this. Of course we are. And if anybody says they're not, I think you're just kidding yourself. But that perhaps all of that can be put somewhere else, even if it means just go take a walk. Because again, most of the stuff that we are so upset about, it's firmly entrenched, either on our side or whatever side you're on in the political spectrum, in what you think about the virus spectrum, and all of those things. We're probably not going to A, change anybody's minds, and B, if the best scientists, the people who have letters after their names, best scientists in our country don't really know what's going on, then all the people on TV telling us what they think, they don't know what's going on. And that's not on MSNBC or Fox or everywhere in between. It's all of them. All of them.
I saw an example of that, actually. Wow, got it. Do you hear the echo?
Nope.
Okay, it's me. Weird. All right, so I saw an example of this. A friend of mine shared something on Facebook that I read, and it had no context to who said it, where they're from, where they came from. There was no verifiable person behind this rant, right? And I almost emailed them and said, you know, you're the problem. Because you're spreading stuff that is not tied to a real person. So stop it. Yep. And you know what? I channeled Jessica also in that moment. And I said, get above the battleground, which is I put on the screen, which is what the advice she gave us. I mean, she'd had a little strategy session with us yesterday. It was awesome. Yeah. I was like, get above the battleground. Right. Do not engage, because you're not helping. I'm not going to help by telling that person you shouldn't be spreading that. And that person really shouldn't be spreading that, but whatever, just ignore it. And this also is part of what we talk about also with energy for entrepreneurs. So we talked about this yesterday in rehearsal too. We're going to do an entire show on energy, about it. How do you manage your energy as an entrepreneur? And it's vital. It's critical. It's amazing how important it is. And my friend, good job for processing all of that. Man, I'm literally, it was like, yesterday. It was.
Well, it's also, Dave. It's taking my own advice, which is hard for me to do. You can have your judgments and you can have your own feelings about the things, but the first thing in the land of Buddhists world is to always start with yourself and use yourself as the example. Be the example. My dear friend Dan Zappa, USMC Lieutenant Colonel retired Dan Zappa, always said, be the example, show grace. And if I just run that through my head all the time, be the example, show grace. There are a lot of people who are our elected leaders who do not be the example and they do not show grace. And it's embarrassing. Now, we can either get sucked into that or we can get above the battleground. We can be the ones who do show grace and who do set the example, or we can get sucked right into the stream, get sucked right into the stream of all this, both sides. And until there's no such thing as cable news, that's never going to stop. So it's never going to stop.
Right. Ding, ding, ding. You're starting to get on the political side. So let's rein it in.
I'm right in the middle of the political side. I just said that it's on both sides. I didn't say who I root for.
I know. I'm saying, that was our main rule. No politics.
That's where it usually lives in that. Yes. It starts with that being told what to think and getting entrenched in that. So by getting above the battleground, you can look down at both sides. You can look down at both sides and just say, okay, go ahead. If you want to hurl the rocks, it's only about 1% of people who are actually hurling the rocks. So let them hurl.
Right. Exactly. All right. Excellent work today. All right. We're going to shift to our first section, which is the unexpected entrepreneur.
Right on.
So this is the time in the show where we highlight that person that didn't expect to be an entrepreneur, but suddenly found themselves in the middle of it. And I don't have a particular person this week except for the spouses of entrepreneurs. So I want to talk about spouses of entrepreneurs because they are truly unexpected entrepreneurs. Unless you went into the relationship or the marriage or whatever with an entrepreneur who was an entrepreneur before you met him, you wake up one day and it's like, you want to do what? So part of my work with other entrepreneurs, especially young entrepreneurs, is how do you deal with and how do you work with your spouse to bring them along the process? Because most of the time when I work with a brand new entrepreneur or somebody that says, I've been wanting to start a company for all these years and I'm finally going to do it. And my first question, swear to God, and I can bring people on who will attest to this, I say, what does your spouse think? What do you mean? Well, what do they think? Are they for this? Are they excited about it? I mean, do they share your vision? No, this isn't their thing. You know, she does this or he does that. This is my thing. This is my thing. It's like, whoa, time out. You are running into the ditch already. You are not going to get off of square one because you haven't built probably one of the most important partnerships in your entrepreneurship journey as with your spouse. So I want to just acknowledge all of those. And I can think of like 5 right now who are spouses of entrepreneurs who have to deal with the mind of an entrepreneur that is always going, always on, wakes up in the morning. Oh, I had an idea. Shut the hell. If you come up with one more fucking idea, I'm going to ram this knife through your throat. Always. So wakes up in the morning. Oh, I'm hearing myself again. So I want to acknowledge all of those folks who are unexpected entrepreneurs by relationship and give you maybe a couple of tools that you can take into those relationships. And if you wake up one day and you are the spouse of an entrepreneur, understand a couple of fundamental things. Matt Stocke, will you quit messing with your computer? You're making me hear myself again. I don't even want to listen to myself in the first place. I'm trying
to look at our comments on Facebook because they're not being shown on my. Go ahead. Sorry.
That's fine. Are you done? I'm just playing around. So, spouses of entrepreneurs, understand that your entrepreneur is just born this way. You can't work them out of it. You can't change them. if they came into this relationship this way, guess what? They're either going to stay in this relationship this way, hopefully, or they're not going to stay in the relationship. And entrepreneurs and those that run companies and CEOs have a horrendous track record of divorces. And yes, that's me. So unfortunately, I'm one of those statistics. And a lot of those things that happened in our relationship and had to do with the business created tension because we weren't on the same page. The vision wasn't there. So spouses of entrepreneurs, understand that you're not going to change that person. Number two, understand that it is in the DNA and they don't think about it like a job. It is a life. Being an entrepreneur is like breathing. It's like walking to the mailbox. It's like getting up in the morning. Well, yeah, I had an idea and this is what I did about it to make that idea come to life. So they're going to be that way always, and they're always going to be working that next idea. And the last thing that I'll say, and I could go on for like a whole show about just working between entrepreneurs and entrepreneur spouses. The last thing I'll say is that it's part of their DNA. They're trying that. It's part of their life. When they look at these things, there's no distinction between family and business and family. And so they have to work at it really, really, really hard to make those, okay, this is family time. Okay, this is business time. Okay, this is family time. They have to work on those skills. Entrepreneurs have to do that. And you can help them. And the way you can help them is help them see, hey, this is family time now. Put your phone away. Create some boundaries. Create some rules. Oddly enough, most entrepreneurs like rules. Yes, we like to break them, but we also like the rules because we know what the rules of the game are. And we're ultimately, at the end of the day, the entrepreneur is trying to win the game, right? I mean, we're all super fucking competitive. So if we knew what the rules were of the game, we'd just play the game and we'd be happy, okay? So there's my unexpected entrepreneur segment.
Melanie loves rules.
Yes. All right, so feeds the comments. The responses that we've been getting lately have been awesome. Give us some comments. Give us some things to talk about. We love the comments and everything that we're getting in there. So now we're moving on. I am so excited about this story. I heard this story and I about lost my mind. And that is the intro to
Dun,
dun, dun, dun.
I have to tell the fast version of this story because I want to get to Jessica because she's way more interesting than I am. Stocke stories, ridiculous things that have happened over the last 48 years. In 2001, about 2 months after 9/11, I had an amazing opportunity to go to London with the cast of The Full Monty, which we were doing on Broadway, but the original 6 guys were leaving the show, and 5 of them were going to open the London company of The Full Monty. The one that wasn't going to open the London company of The Full Monty was my best friend, Patrick Wilson. He was staying here in the United States to begin what has become his very successful film career. So I got asked, luckily, by the producers to go over to London and do what they call the Royal Variety Performance. The Royal Variety Performance is a yearly variety show that is to provide funds for the British equivalent of the NEA. It's called the Royal Benevolent Fund, something or other. Sorry, but it's a big fundraiser, and it's huge, and it's always hosted by some big stars, and they have people come over. So we got asked to perform on that show as a way to announce the fact that the Full Monty was going to be opening in London. So the fact that Patrick couldn't do it, I got asked to do it. I was thrilled. So we get flown over there the weekend after Thanksgiving. So this is about 2 months after 9/11. Go ahead.
So I'm gonna break in because I want to make sure that it really connects with the audience that the show of The Full Monty culminates with the main actors who are males.
Yep.
They give the audience the Full Monty, and then the lights come on in a special way, and you're like, "Did I say anything?" No, maybe I didn't.
It's
there's like 6 men, 6, and they are all the way Full Monty.
It was.
Right?
we got asked a lot, oh my God, do you guys really take off your clothes? And we said, well, it's not called the half Monty. And we were full on starkers naked except for our shoes at the end. Yeah, there was a giant sign that would come back behind us on stage. And as soon as we did this and we waved and we took off our G-strings and threw them, huge bright strobe, so all you saw were outlines. So over the years on Broadway, you had some people do some very interesting things. People wore blue blockers in the front row. People would bring flashlights. There were a lot of pictures taken. There were things on message boards that if you sat on the side, you weren't blinded by the strobe, and you could see 6 penises.
You know, women give us a hard time that we just want to see some skin, and I don't know. I think women are just as bad as men.
Well, on Broadway, it's often a mixed bag. But my thing was, why are you spending this much money for like 1.1 seconds of seeing 6 penises? But anywho, they also liked the show. So people were very creative about those kinds of things. But we found something that when you had to do it on television, like the Tony Awards or the Royal Benevolent or the Royal Variety Show, there were ambient lights. So that when the strobe flashed, didn't quite have the desired effect. There was enough light in the house where it was still kind of like you were just sitting in your living room. You can't tell on TV, but there's lights on in every televised theatrical production because it can't be pitch black in the house and too bright on stage. It won't look right on TV. So there's lights on. So we rehearsed this whole thing. And bear in mind, the actual Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth II, was going to be in the house. And this was thrilling. This was absolutely thrilling. She was going to be sitting in the royal box. So many jokes, royal box, full Monty. So she was literally sitting in the box that we were just looking right up off stage right with Prince Philip, who nobody cared about. This is also right after 9/11, so we could see all over the theater. There were full-on snipers. It was quite something else. Also, my dear, sweet mama, my dear, 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 sweet mama, this is the first time she had ever left the United States. She flew over because I was allowed to get tickets to do this.
Oh, nice.
My mom and my Aunt Lois, her sister, and her first cousin Rick, my cousin Rick Allison, they all flew over. They got decked out. They were in the house. My mom also deathly afraid of heights. The only seats we could get were in the balcony, and she said, I will suck it up and do it. So my mom's in the house. My mom's sitting directly across from Queen Elizabeth Windsor. We're on stage doing the full Monty. For the rehearsal, the light went off. Perfect. Awesome. Yay. Whoa, woo. We all realize, oops, hold on a second. My screensaver just jumped in. Wait a second.
Uh-oh.
Everybody wait. It's going to be, the payoff is worth it. Yeah. So we do the rehearsal. We do the rehearsal. Everything's awesome. And then we get out there and we start doing the thing. And very much like on the Tonys, we all realize that the room is just brightly lit. Just the entire, we were in the Dominion Theater in the West End, and it was just bright. It was just like daylight. And so we're like, oh, Jesus. And so we go through the whole number. And then we were just like, well, you got to kind of play to the Queen, which we did. And we get to the final thing, and whoop, and we throw it, and we're just.
There you are.
Cash and prizes everywhere.
The jewels have been exposed to the royal jewels.
So funny that you say that, because as we were leaving the next day, flying back to the United States, on British Airways in business class, it does not get better than flying British Airways on business class. It's so deluxe. It was like, oh, couldn't the flight be longer than 6 hours? Let's just go. As we were leaving, we were in Heathrow, and we picked up some of the local newspapers, the Telegram, something else. And on the front page of the Telegram, it said, Her Majesty sees royal jewels.
Congratulations, sir. It is just fantastic.
So after we were finished doing it, and she comes up on stage and she met everybody. And we're talking like it was Jennifer Lopez and Cher and Charlotte Church and Elton John and like all these people. And it was like it was the coolest thing ever. But we all stood in this like horseshoe, and the director came around with the Queen and introduced everybody. And we had to learn the protocol, like calling her ma'am or mom and bowing and all this stuff. And we could see guns all over the theater because it was post 9/11. It was very And so everyone was just like on their best behavior. And she comes around, and the director is introducing her to each of us, saying our names. And she comes to myself and John Conley, who played Dave, and we're standing next to each other. And the director says, and this is Mr. Matthew Stocke and Mr. John Conley. They were part of the Full Monty. And she just goes, no. We're like, couldn't hear, had no idea what she said.
She's a soft fucker.
And I'm just like, oh, if I say the wrong thing or say I didn't hear you, I'm gonna get sniped. Like they're just gonna be like, kill him, you know. And I was like, and the director jumps into both of us and just says, you know, how have you enjoyed your stay? And I was like, oh, great, awesome, thank you very much, awesome. Just move along. I'm like, just say hello to the Queen, awesome, off you go. And we were just like, okay, I think we got away with it. Okay, great. And then of course Prince Philip, who nobody cares about. There's 90 people around the Queen, 90 people like around her, just like constantly like the perimeter, all this stuff. And then there's Philip behind him. Hello, how we doing? You know, and he's just like off on his own because nobody cares. So it was pretty funny watching The Crown and like all the stuff about Prince Philip. And I was like, I met that dude, and nobody cares.
That's amazing.
He's just a guy. Anyway,
so because of that story, as we were building the show, it was that story that I was like, you've got to have a segment where you just tell your most craziest stories. And hopefully there's more crazy stories, because that's pretty awesome.
We got lots of them. It's fun.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. I have a stringer strategy session. I feel like we're at 30 minutes. I feel like that's not the right time to do a strategy session because, you know, that's my intuition. I have just been watching Jessica backstage laughing, and we're
bring her on. She's better than me.
So we're gonna bring on Jessica Michaels. Here we go.
Da-da-da.
Oh.
There she is.
Hey, hi guys. You guys,
Hi, Jess.
how am I supposed to follow that Matthias von Stocke?
Well, I don't know. You actually have pants on, so that's. I am wearing pants. Although they are gym shorts because it's so.
Okay, we didn't need to see that. We just nope.
Sure you did.
We had enough visuals from the from the story.
Great legs.
So, Jessica Michaels, welcome to the show.
Yes, indeed.
I'm gonna do the best I can at trying to introduce you, and then you're gonna have to correct it all because I'm probably gonna screw this all up. But Jess is a native of Newtown, Connecticut, and has over 10 years of national and international professional dance performance experience that took her all over New York and Los Angeles and London, basically the world. I mean, she's played in Tokyo. So with her business savvy and entrepreneur drive, Jessica's non-performance achievements include co-founder of dance director of the Atlantic Arts Academy, a pre-professional performing arts academy in Juniper, Florida, the founder of Jam Cosmetics, a healthier stage makeup line for dancers and live performance artists. As a dancer, instructor, and choreographer, Jessica has helped guide young dancers to develop important life and leadership skills for the last 20 years. Clearly, this shows I can read. So thank you, Jessica, for coming on the show. I'm going to leave the last little bit for you to introduce yourself and tell us how you went from professional and then through those stages and then to what you're doing now. So welcome to the show. Take it away.
Hey, Jess, I'm going to interrupt before we start. Do you want to tell everybody how we know each other?
No, you can. I'll let you. All right, ahead.
In 1997, 98, something like that.
I'm blushing.
A young Matt Stocke was just getting used to living in New York City, and one of the places that we frequented was a legendary bar that is no longer even there on the site. There was a bar called McHale's on 46th Street and 8th Avenue in New York City, one of the most famous places in Midtown history, run by one of the greatest guys ever, Jimmy McHale. And it was a place where my roommate at the time, Corey English, took me as like my first bar, and it became sort of my cheers, and there was no place better than it. And aside from the best cheeseburger ever, and anybody ever had one will agree, it was just a perfect old-timey bar. There was a scene in Sleepers.
I can't remember what the movie was, but yeah.
Oh, a Jennifer Aniston movie.
Yeah.
Something, I forget. Anyway, very famous place. There's some great shots of the outside of it. Anywho, it was the best place in the world, and Jimmy McHale was a genius. And one of the things that Jimmy McHale did was he hired the most badass women in the city to be his staff. He never hired men. There were no men that worked in McHale's. All the bartenders, waitresses, everybody were women. Most of them were Broadway performers.
Always dancers. Always dancers.
Always dancers.
Really, always dancers, because we're really hardworking.
Very hardworking, and for good reason. They made a lot of money. It was great. The place was awesome. They made tons of money. It was great. They're beautiful, beautiful women. They all look like Jessica, and but they were also great bartenders. And the bartenders were amazing.
Fun.
And Jimmy knew who to hire. It wasn't just hiring, just like, okay, sure, awesome. No. He had a method behind his madness. But it was also not very easy to not be buying beers off of Jessica every night and not want to chase her around, because I was completely smitten beyond imagination. And so I made it my goal that she would be mine, and we don't have to run further than that. But that's how we met each other, and it was 22 years ago.
20, yeah. Hard to believe. Wow.
I know. So there.
Thank you for telling the story.
Okay, now Jessica, tell us your story.
So I'm actually gonna bring us back to a couple of episodes ago when you had mentioned impulse versus intuition, because I was watching. Because what else is there to do on during a global pandemic? This has been my Friday night the last couple of weeks, and you mentioned impulse versus intuition, and I spit my gin tonic out my nose, and I texted Matt, and I was like, "Oh my god!" I told him the story about why I connected with that so much. So I had a makeup company that I had started. I actually hadn't started it yet, and my impulse was to show up at a conference, a dance industry conference with no product.
Perfect.
No product. And basically, to this wonderful customer base, let them just steal my whole idea. Because I told them all the features, all the benefits, everything.
Oh, no, you didn't actually do that.
Oh, I did.
You actually did that. Oh,
I did it.
Solid business plan, Jess. Solid business plan.
Yeah, that was my big rookie mistake. That's why I was like, oh, that was such a great label, the impulse versus intuition. And I did figure out the distinction. Do you know what I think the distinction is? Solid plan.
There you go.
Yeah.
Because impulse doesn't really have a good solid plan. Whereas intuition, you can have an intuition. And if it's good, it will also have a really good plan behind it. So that was that was embarrassing. Oh, so dumb.
We need to steal that.
Awesome. I think intuition does develop to a plan.
Yeah.
When you have an intuition, you begin to develop a plan. When you have an impulse, you just got it. That's great. A plan. That's it. That's it. That's the way to determine the difference. That's excellent. Thank you. Thank you for making that better.
I didn't know, had no plan. I just thought I was so brilliant with my idea that everybody would just fall over with adoration and money and just throw money at me for not even having a product. That's how ridiculous I was. Anyway. Yeah, I've heard I'm not the only one. So what was funny is you guys also call this the unexpected entrepreneur. And when I started to think about it for the show, I was like, gosh, I actually have always been an entrepreneur, but I didn't know it. I didn't know that's what I was doing. I was selling Avon at 17. I've sold Avon, Princess Crystal, Mary Kay, water machines, Arbonne. I did all the network marketing companies. I was always wanting to be in charge of my own destiny. So I didn't understand that's what I was doing. And I've always been just a big problem solver and risk taker. And, I think I said to you guys yesterday, I think there are two kinds of people. There are the people that say no to everything and then you have to talk them into it. And then there are people that say yes and they figure it out. And until they take the plan and then they say no. So I've always been like, yes, I can do it. Now let me figure out how. So I'd been a professional dancer. and a makeup artist when I was in New York, and worked at McHale's, this place that Matt talked about, as a waitress, which I loved.
Which a lot of people liked, by the way. I mean, we had a ton of comments about McHale's, so that was a.
I got to check that out. McHale's was a place to be. It really was a place to be. Well, while I was also working as a dancer, I wanted to become a more educated makeup artist. So I started working for Aveda. And I don't know if you've ever heard of Aveda, but it's a more natural skincare and cosmetic line. And that's where I got certified to be a makeup artist. And I had talked to a mentor at one time because when I was dancing, the stage makeup used to make me break out. And I was like, gosh, wouldn't it be really cool if there was a healthier version of stage makeup? And she just laughed and she goes, Jessica, she said, makeup is either healthy or it's efficient. It's not both. And I was like, okay, game on, you know, put that in my back pocket. I retired from performing and I actually started teaching, and I wasn't teaching initially because I wanted to teach. I was teaching because I was segueing in, deciding what I wanted to do. And I found that I loved it. I didn't think I was going to love anything more than performing. I loved it more than performing. I felt like I had such an incredible impact on these little lives that I came in contact with. I found that it was just I have an intuitive gift for teaching, and I'm the child whisperer, and the babies are my thing. 3 to 10-year-olds are my jam, and I fell in love with it. So I ended up, I was engaged at one time. My ex-fiance was a Blue Man with Blue Man Group. We decided to leave. We were in Boston. We left Boston. We bought a studio. We had a pre-professional program. It's huge. We basically wanted to create everything we felt we could have used before we got to New York City. So we had 10,000 square foot space. We had voice, guitar, piano, drums, whole music division. We had a 100 seat black box theater where we did improv, acting classes, and stage combat. It was an amazing venture. When we broke up, we just loved what we were doing so much. We stayed working together for 2 years. And it was that exact thing that you were talking about. We both loved working together, and the relationship took second fiddle. And so, but we were like, yeah, but let's just keep working together. In a relationship together. There it is.
Matt is putting for just our podcast, Matt is showing us it looks like an iPad with McHale's.
You guys send that to me.
That's actually Jimmy McHale standing right in front.
That's a young Jimmy McHale.
Young Jimmy McHale.
Well, you have to send me that picture. So so I ended up. So my fiance and I separated. He bought me out, and I'm going back to this idea about creating a healthier stage makeup line. So what I love about your podcast, by the way, is I feel like it is geared towards people that want to start something new. You're really trying to give tools for to just be brave during this crisis and be willing to maybe entertain the idea of being an entrepreneur. And I'm going to tell you the best piece of advice I ever got about being an entrepreneur. I had a mentor tell me, make sure there's a business before there's a business. And so I spent 4 to 6 months on my business plan.
Nice.
Really just traveling all over the country, talking to chemists, talking to manufacturers, meeting vendors, all of that. And then that went really well. I was growing between 20 and 30% into the second and third year.
So let me make sure I understood. So you spent how long on the business plan? 6 months, you said?
6 months.
6 months. And so let's back it up there, because you were working on the business plan. A lot of entrepreneurs think of that as a document. And I always it's sort of a document, and the document is sort of the results of the plan, and it's the codification, it's the writing of the plan. But there's so much that goes into your research and your understanding, and it just builds and builds and builds in your mind. And yes, the business plan is the final piece of that. So when you say business plan, you were really strategizing about formulas and about production and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Awesome.
And I was setting it up, and what was happening that I found is every time I answered one question, it made me go back and have to fix something else. And I started to recognize that was the purpose of it, which was frustrating and so incredible. like absolutely incredible. So it was going really well. I was really happy with the company. And I actually felt like I had that moment where, still all this time I didn't qualify myself as an entrepreneur. And I told you yesterday, I said, yeah, then there was that moment where I just knew I was an entrepreneur. And you said it. Do you remember what you said to me? Like you said, was it this? Do you remember? I wish I wrote it. Sorry, I didn't write it out. But it's like that 9.5 minutes before you're ready to quit. Like you're sitting there and you're like, this is going to fail. This thing has happened. And my packaging, the company that made my palette no longer sold it anymore. They were like, oh, sorry. It was August. It was 6 weeks out from one of my biggest selling seasons, which was Nutcracker season. And I was like, I'm done. I'm just done. I have no products. Yeah. And then I started flipping the question. Mm-hmm. So that is my other thing that if I can offer, it's like, don't ask, oh, what am I going to do now? It's not what I'm going to do. It's, well, did I really even like the packaging? Mm-hmm. Was it really what I wanted? Was it actually the best packaging that I could have had?
Yeah, it's time for a restart. So to append of what you said, it reminds me now actually what I did say. A lot of times what I say is just like in the moment, and I was like, you said that like yesterday. I did? Damn, that was pretty good. Yeah. Okay, I'll try. I'll take your word for it. And right. And so the moment you're an entrepreneur is the moment that it seems that the world is about to fall. You can't make payroll. Your packaging is gone. Something blew up. Your best customer said, F you, we're out. I mean, it's like, and then you go, okay, all right. It's time to. It's like, it's the scene in Martian where Matt Damon, I always say that, says we're going to science the shit out of this, and you just like something happens in your brain as an entrepreneur. You go, okay, well, all right. So here's reality, and here's how we're going to move through it. And then you go, oh, all right, and then all of a sudden everything's okay. Like, okay, that wasn't so bad. What's next?
Yep. It really grew my confidence and my problem-solving abilities, and I started looking at problems as these wonderful opportunities. And it reminded me of this. We were in a meeting this morning, and there was a gentleman that said this quote, and I really loved it. He said, "Don't waste a good emergency." And I was like, that's like my favorite saying now, because when you say, oh, what am I going to do? It's so limiting and puts you in a box because you're only thinking about what you can do, like in that moment, rather than flipping it and going, okay, but it wasn't even really what I wanted. This is what I wanted, and finding that solution and making it even better. That's to me, I was like, ta-da, graduation.
A little story, just a quick story, and then I'll get you back to your story. But the quick story is that Insignia, my company that I own with James Brooks, very talented business owner, partner of mine. We had a advisor come to us about 1.5 years ago, and he was helping us sort of think through next level stuff. And he says, my God, you guys are from one fire to the next. How do you even deal with the pressure of going from this fire to this fire to this fire? And we were like, wait, what? That's a fire? No, that shit was easy, man. And then we sort of sat back and we're like, damn, I mean, we have been hair on fire for the last 19 years, literally. And we don't know anything any differently. So it's like when things are going good, it's like, okay, just wait.
just waiting.
Hey, you can never 5 minutes. There it is. Yeah, okay. Now we're fucked up again. And here we go. All right, let's go forward again. Oh, COVID hit. Great.
Because then a new idea pops in, right? Like a new
No, it's not even new ideas. It's like
new ideas or fires. Yes.
This happened to us in 2008. We're charging along. It's like, oh my God, we have record sales. Oh my God, the car business is amazing. And it's like the end of 2008, it was like somebody just grabbed us by the heels and went, boom.
Yeah.
Just freaking nailed us. It was like, all right, here we go again, So anyway, okay.
So relate. Yeah. So it was going really well. Everything was going great. I was feeling really confident. I realized I realized and accepted my role in the world as a far geekier and nerdy person than I thought I was. Like, I now accept that. In fact, Matt, do you know when I really wanted to come on the podcast? Like, do you know what got me? Like, when you said, I've got a whiteboard on the back of my door and I write all my ideas there.
I decided I added like 7 things today. I'm like, yeah, I want to do that too.
Yep, I loved it. I was like, I want to be
also like, you know what? I'm going to take a nap after this. So there's also that.
And yes, Mel, Tommy Boy, I live and die by Tommy Boy. My sister said I'm quoting Tommy Boy, and that's about what I'm doing. So very, very influential movie in my case. So thanks, Mel. That's exactly right.
I am.
You got this cosmetic company. You're
living my
starting to rock and roll.
Life. And interestingly enough, I also am married to someone that doesn't really care for my entrepreneurial life, in a nutshell. And even though he was the one that talked me into it, he's like, you're not giving me enough attention. And yeah, so it ended, and I'm divorced. And I said, Jam Cosmetic. And guess what his name was? Mike.
Nice. So that is an entrepreneur answer. And so it ended. And
so I was trying to figure out it was heartbreaking. It was, because you never expected, of course. And so I wanted a place to just relax after. I wanted a pause. And I said, I'll go back home to my hometown, Newtown, Connecticut. And I literally said this in my brain because nothing happens there. And it's rural Connecticut. It's beautiful. It's quiet. It's what it is. And I was working for not only the studio that I grew up in, but I was working for my friend Jen, and both of us had grown up in that same studio. So it was this wonderful dynamic of being back home with people that I knew. And Jen had been a dancer in New York. We were roommates in New York when we were dancing professionally. So we had this great background. And I'm actually, before I go on any further, I made a note here. I just want to put a disclaimer in for any Newtown friends that are watching, because I am going to talk about my experience after 12/14. And so I just wanted to let them know before I go on. That's all. So here I am in Newtown, and it's July of 2011 that I got there. And I am a year later, so it's December 14th. It's a Friday. And I've got a date. And my hairdresser gives me a call and says, she's kind of whimpering. And she says, I don't think I'm going to be able to do your hair today. There's been a shooting at the elementary school. And I didn't really understand what she was saying. And I first thought, somebody brought a BB gun to school. What's the big deal? I have a date. Come on, And I said, well, do you think, she's like, I'm on my way to go pick up my daughter and at the elementary school, and then I'll be back. And I said, well, do you think you can call me after and just see if we can keep my appointment? And I'm kind of annoyed with her. I was like, I have a date. It was important to me. So she just starts crying, and she said, turn on the TV. So I said, okay, but call me later if you can fit me in. So I go to the TV, I turn it on, and the first thing that I see on the screen is Newtown, like on the whole screen. And I start flipping the channels, and Newtown is on every channel, and children are running out of the school, and they're talking about a body count, and they're talking about lost lives. And, it's really hard to process it. But as they start saying the number, and it's going up, and it's going up, and it's going up, and it doesn't seem like it's going to end. So they get to about 20, and I just remember screaming and falling against the wall behind me, sliding down the wall, and just crying and sobbing because I knew my kids were in there. Between the two studios, I taught about 200 younger children, elementary school kids. So I was devastated. That night, we all meet at the dance studio, and some of the parents show up. We're looking through our list, trying to figure out, because I don't know if you guys know this or remember, but they didn't turn over the lists until the next day. So we didn't know who we lost. We just tried to look and see who had been in the school. And the parents asked us if we would please teach the next day, because they didn't want the kids to, they wanted to keep everything as normal as possible for the kids. So we all agreed. And the next day I almost couldn't go in. I called up the studio owner and I said, I don't know if I can teach today. And she said, I understand. And I said, is everybody else going to be there? And she said, yes. And I said, okay, then I'm going to be there. So I go in, and there are three very distinct things that I remember from that day. The first one was that no one could make eye contact. The adults, we couldn't make any eye contact. It felt like if we made eye contact, that it would make it really real. The second thing is that it was the week before Christmas. So we have running around us, as we are all devastated, happy, smiling, giggly elementary school kids, from 9 a.m. to 1 o'clock. And we have to pretend that it is holiday season. And we're doing parties and cookies and singing songs. And in fact, one of the little girls that was in one of my classes, she's following me around and she's like, Miss Jessica, can I hand out cookies? Miss Jessica, can I help you with the juice? And Miss Jessica, can I sit next to you? And I was like, sure, sure, Jossie, that's fine. So we sit down, and she's so happy, and she puts her hand on my arm, and she looks up to me and she says, Miss Jessica, this is the best day ever. And that was the moment when I said, I'm so happy to hear that, sweetie. And I excused myself and I went in the bathroom, and that was the one time that I cried, and I just kind of contained myself and I went back. And we did that for 4 hours, from 9 to 1. Wow. From 1 to 5, or from 1 to 6 was the competition team rehearsals. And most of these kids were a little older, though some of them had actually been in the school as well, and they were there. They'd been in the school the day before, and they were there. So these kids knew. I forgot to say, the third thing that I remember most about that day, that morning, was that our classes were half full. So we didn't know whether parents were keeping kids home or whether we were never going to see them again. It was a very horrific day. So we go into our competition team rehearsals, and we get the list by 3 o'clock. And we find out that at Dance Etc. we had lost 3 little girls, Olivia, Jessica, and Caroline. And we tried to keep dancing for about another hour with the kids. And then the director called us over, and she's like, you know what, I don't have any more. I don't have anything left. Can we stop? And the kids heard us, and they huddled, and then they turned around and they came over to us and they said, no, we need to stay. Please, please let us stay.
Dang.
And we all stayed in one big studio, and the teenagers sat all huddled and crying, and they would go, can we do a hip hop dance? And they would get up and they would do some of the best dancing I would ever see in my life that day. And they would sit down and, can we do our lyrical dance? And they would get up and they would just be gone into the music for those 2.5 moments in ways that we had never seen them perform. And
wow.
It was, and to just give you an idea of how pervasive it was through our town, I had a 16-year-old teen assistant. She knew 6 kids, 2 that she babysat, 2 that were siblings of friends, and 2 from the studio. So we, not only were the kids traumatized, we adults, we were a wreck. I mean, we were a wreck. The next day, I watched Obama speak at my high school on every single channel. So completely surreal experience. And by Tuesday, when it all really started to hit, there was a moment where a mom was talking, all the moms were chatting about it, and she said, those children were helpless in there. And when she said the word helpless, I could almost feel a snap. And in my brain, the thought that just took every single ounce of hope out of me was, I have lost all hope in humanity's ability to take care of its children. It was, wow. I was done. And I lived like that for about 3 years. So I had like this 3-year dark night of the soul. I wasn't outwardly angry. I was very inwardly angry. And my focus in life, here I have my makeup company, right? So I'm trying to run my makeup company, which selling lipstick really paled in comparison.
Yeah.
Taking care of these survivors, these kids that had been in the school, these kids that lost friends, these kids that lost siblings, kids that were in the room and ran out. And it was, that was where my heart was. And here I've got this makeup company and I'm trying to make it run. And it got to the point where I felt like I couldn't do a good job anymore, even though it was my baby, which was the hardest thing, right? To just say, because Jam, Jessica Ann Michaels, like that's my baby.
That's your jam.
That's my jam. I said, I think I need to sell my company because I can't do this. I can't live with what's like my focus now. My purpose changed. And so it got to be August of 2015. And I had made a friend online. She's a dance industry entrepreneur. She was on earlier, Suzanne. I don't know if she's still on at all, but I knew Suzanne for a couple of years just online. We'd emails back and forth. So I decided to just like call her. I knew she had sold her company to a bigger company, and I wanted to consult with her and see how I could go about selling my company. And she knew a little bit about me being from Sandy Hook. So we get on the phone and she's like, oh yeah, I can totally help you. Oh, definitely. I'm there. I can help you. She lives in New Hampshire. When I called, it just so happened that she was coming to Connecticut in a month for an event. And she was like, oh yeah, my husband is a motivational speaker and he is speaking at a launch of this program. It's one of the Sandy Hook Foundation programs. So now she didn't know. One of the ways that I coped with just taking care of the kids is I wanted nothing to do with any of the foundations. I never wanted to see a green ribbon. I don't talk to me about the shooting. I never read any of the articles. I completely distanced myself from the actual shooting. And I did not want to be anywhere near a memorial, a candlelight service, a theatrical production that was in benefit for all the Sandy Hook. No. So I said, that's great, but I'm sorry, I can't. And said, look, it's a month away. You've got 30 days. You can let me know up until the day before. And I said, okay, great, I'm not going. So it ends up that the day before was my birthday. Yeah. And I decided, cost benefit analysis, right? I want to sell my business. Can I make it through this Sandy Hook event and just not listen? So that was my promise to myself. I said, I'm going to go in, and I'm just not going to listen. I'm going to
bring a little levity. That's a very nerdy thing to say. Cost benefit analysis. Just so you know, that was pretty nerdy. So you're welcome.
The stakes were high. I really wanted to sell my business. I really wanted to do this. So absolutely. I just, this was like going to be right up there with one of the hardest thing I was ever going to do, because I had so disconnected from any of it. And I felt like, honestly, guys, I felt like if I let it in even the tiniest bit, I was afraid I wouldn't come out.
Right. You sealed yourself off that day. That day that whatever you said, that was like, that was, you locked it in a box.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I text her back and I said, okay, give me the information and I'll show up. And she said, that's great. It's here. She goes, and wear purple. It's Dylan's favorite color. And I was like, ugh. Well, it just so happened that my Jam Cosmetics color is the exact same color that we use for Wingman. So I went
nice.
Cosmetics shirt on, and I show up at the auditorium, and I'm doing my breathing exercises as I walk in, and I go down to the auditorium and I meet Suzanne. We sit down, and I literally take my hands and I steel myself to the chair, and I was like, I am not going to listen, and I'm going to use my grip to keep me centered and grounded as I listen to, these crazy people. And then I just try to sell my business. Like, that's So I'm sitting there and I hear this ruckus in the back of the auditorium, and this sea of kids wearing purple come in. Oh. And they take their seats, and they're lively and they're talking, and I'm just watching them, and the speakers start to go up. And her husband, Ed, goes up and starts speaking, and he starts talking to these kids about being respectful and taking care of each other and stepping up for someone when they need you and going above and beyond for others. And that what being a real guy is, and what being a real girl, like, just this incredible moment of discussing character with these kids, and they're eating it up, which was shocking to me, to a point where they got a middle school boy, 7th grade boy, to go on stage and call his mom on speakerphone on his cell phone and tell her he loved her in front of the whole audience. And not only did he do it, like, they cheered him on. They cheered him on. They were clapping. They were like, yes. And it was, I'm just sitting there, and I noticed that my grip is lightening, like, just a little bit. So Ian Hockley, who is Dylan's dad, goes up on stage. And that's when I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be the shooting part, and I need to just, steel up. So he starts talking about Dylan. And he talks about how Dylan had autism, and how Dylan was a flapper. And that's a stim that they do where they flap their hands. And he wasn't very verbal. And his mom at one point asked him, so Dylan, why do you flap like that? And he said, Mommy, it's because I'm a beautiful butterfly. Mm. And that's how Wingman got the logo of the butterfly. But then Ian took it a step further, and he said, but we also believe in this butterfly effect, this chaos theory of butterfly flaps its wings on one side of the planet and causes a tornado on the other. And what if that small act was something kind? What if that small act was just connecting with another human being? And you can't even know the impact that would have. And he goes on to explain that because Dylan had autism, he just really needed help with everything. He needed help getting dressed. He needed help. He needed help to be happy in life. And the reality is, we all do. Yeah. We all need a wingman, right? And so I had tears coming down my face, but I wasn't sad. I was actually filled with more hope than I thought possible, and realized in that moment that this was why I was here. This was what I was meant to do. And so I did something I've never done in my life. I volunteered for a nonprofit. I walked and I said, my name is Jessica Michaels, and I'm a dance teacher, and I really would love to, I don't understand what you're doing, but I'd really love to, and I'd really love to be a part of what you're doing. So I volunteered for about 6 months, learning about the foundation, learning about what they were doing in schools. At that time, they only had 4 schools. It was kind of small. And Ian had 2 other people he was working with, but then they ended up leaving. So it ended up just being like Ian and I. And I said, look, I have an idea. And luckily, Ian Hockley, like, every time I say those words, he goes, what do you got? And I said, I really believed that the dance industry would embrace this, because dance teachers have this heart. We just don't have a curriculum for it. We don't know. We want to teach the whole child. We want to be able to impact them, whether they become professionals or not. And you're doing that with kids. You're teaching them character skills. You're teaching them all of these things. And I want to be part of that. So I was hired by the foundation to adapt the school's program to the dance industry. And so I took everything that I knew from Jam Cosmetics and owning an e-commerce business, and I applied it to this program, this Wingman for Dance program. In 3 years, we are in 300 studios in 6 countries.
Oh, shit, that's amazing.
Yeah, and it's been an incredible journey, and it's evolved all the time. And I have never, ever understood that my life was definitely about entrepreneurship, but more purpose guided. That makes me happy. I kept trying to make my Jam Cosmetics. I was like, reign fearless, beautiful Jam Cosmetics girls, and not make it just about external beauty. And because I'm definitely a more purpose-oriented human, and it was never quite fitting the way I wanted it to. And I feel like all of a sudden, this wonderful, out of like incredible darkness, and out of just, I wasn't, I'm an eternal optimist. So for me to go that far down is a really big deal, and literally in a moment of hearing about Dylan, it just like brought me all the world.
Everything that you had happen to you in your entrepreneurial journey had been preparing you for that moment.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean,
it was a mind-blowing moment.
Exactly. Right. And I think any entrepreneur, any person, so there's a couple of different entrepreneurs, I think, and we could probably put them into buckets, but there's that one entrepreneur who is all about, I'm going to be as rich as I possibly can be. I have a number, and I'm going to hit my number, and I'm going to do whatever the fuck it takes to make my number, right? And then there are different entrepreneurs that are not interested in money from the perspective of value and return of that value. And I put myself squarely in that place. Yes, at the end of the day, making money is important. Yes. And you have to make money to be able to continue to do the things that you want to do. So it is an important thing, but it's not the most important thing. And so fulfillment and sort of that balance. And then I'm going to put you in another category, which is your entrepreneur journey led you to, and I think there are very few entrepreneurs that can actually pull this off, which is money is truly not the main thing. It is, I don't even know it's not value, because that sounds like such a business word. It's more like wholesome return on investment. I mean, it's like you're more about putting something out in the world that is hope and optimism and encouragement, and somehow the universe pays you off to keep that going, so you don't have to don't even have to worry about, you have to worry about bills, and I want to talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that to me is like, if I could complete my entrepreneurial journey, I want to end up in your bucket. I want to end up in that bucket where I don't give a I'm comfortable and fine and whatever, but I just want to put value back into the world. And I applaud you. Not many individuals could do what you do and do what you've done to get through that journey, especially going through that sort of deep valley of darkness. I mean, it's pretty awesome. So that's what a hell of a story.
No, but I do think that something you just said, Dave, it struck me. I believe there are more people out there trying to do that very thing than we know about, and it's not often celebrated. It's not often front page. That there are. It's how I go to sleep at night, and I know we're not going to hell in a hula hoop, because there are a lot of people doing really, really, really good things. And I love like watching something like John Krasinski's show, The Some Good News. Yeah. It's unbelievable. And I love that. And I think there are, the vast majority of people would kill to be able to do that. If they had the makeup, the wherewithal, and the opportunity to do it, they would be happy doing it. Because I really think that 99.9% of people in the world just want to have a good meal and talk to their friends and live a decent life and, you know, get laid once in a while, and that's it. Like that, just like be just decent people. You know what I mean?
I think
those aren't the entrepreneurs. But those aren't the entrepreneurs. I think you're right. There's a vast majority of people who want to show up to work, who want to put in their get their hours, get their paycheck, go to the bar, and enjoy life. I mean, nothing wrong with it, right? I mean, there is a large percentage of people that want to do that. I think it is a small percentage that want to put. So what Jessica and people that are in her bucket are able to do, and they're able to, on the mass scale of like wherewithal of, I have to complete the bills kind of thing. It's more about, I got to get that child first, and then I'm going to worry about the bills later. It's like this, it's an amazing place to be. I don't think most people want to be there because it's terrifying. I mean, I think you, Jessica, are able to operate in an environment where most people will be terrified because where's the next paycheck going to come from? And maybe I'm wrong, but I think you feel like the person that's like not sure.
If I didn't have the experience that I had for 6 years owning a performing arts academy, right, and for 13 years owning a makeup company, then I would have been scared. But I was pretty confident in my abilities to help him do this. And like to the point where, I think I told you this, Matt, like I actually planned a launch. We did a whole big launch on the Newtown High School football field with 300 people. We launched the program before I wrote it because it was optimal timing. And that was strategic. It wasn't impulsive. It was strategic planning, but it was optimal timing. And so I'm not, I joked around that, I'm just winging it and throwing stuff at the wall. I'm not. I'm using everything that I knew. So I kind of feel
it's not scary to you.
It's not scary to me.
You're at a place where you have so much experience and so much skill that it's not scary.
It's a numbers game. It's just a numbers game right now for me.
Awesome.
So I feel really lucky. I feel incredibly lucky. And I get to work with someone like Ian Hockley. I have to say, I have to give a shout out to Ian because he's still one of the most resilient men that I've ever known. And I've learned a lot just as a human working with him. I always say working for when he's like, no, Jess, it's with. He's British. I can't do the British accent, but he'll say, no, Jess, it's with. And I feel like we just somehow we are just these this great team. And then we've taken on, there's another guy that started with us. His name is Rob Armstrong, and he is a master of experiential education. And so that's what our programs are built on. Basically, so you guys would actually love this, and I think all performers would love this. Wingman is built on purposeful play.
Nice.
So it's teaching concepts. They believe an hour of purposeful play is like replaces hours of just lecturing a kid. I can do more with a group of kids and a tin can and a tennis ball and teach more about life, communication, empathy, leadership skills, cooperation, collaboration, consensus with a tin can and a tennis ball.
I want to sign up.
It's super fun. Well, then I had this other brainstorm of like, I want to do corporate events that then a percentage of that goes towards our youth leadership program scholarships.
There you go.
For kids
There's the entrepreneur.
Which is the program that I will be talking to Jessica about helping her develop with my years of doing media training. So
I already was thinking about this, Matt. I was already thinking about this. I also think you'd be a great trainer. I think we need
unexpected entrepreneurship. These are things, and that's a whole other show talking about what's going to pop up. I think that there's an insane amount of opportunity that's going to happen over the next year. Yes, there are going to be voids, but there are going to be people just diving into those voids. There are going to be some things that blow up and they have to go, and that's a damn shame. My industry started shutting down yesterday. Frozen announced that they would not be opening up again, and it's going to keep happening. It's going to be one after another on Broadway, and we kind of have to steel ourselves for that. But in the spirit of everything that Jess has been saying, that there is the vacuum already exists. The hole already is there. It's who is the person who's going to jump in there and jump in there with purpose and jump in there with not just the idea of, ooh, I can take advantage of this monetarily. Because there's going to be a lot of that. There's going to be tons of new business. There's going to be tons of new money over the next year. Tons of people who are really, really, really freaking smart are going to go, I can make money off this right now.
Yeah.
You know who's happier than anybody right now? Liquor stores. And I'm not even joking. Like the guy on my corner said 2,000%. 2,000%. So you tell me that somebody's not working on a way to really keep, there's no bars? I'm going to figure out a way to make money. Anyway, the point being that and I agree, going back to conversations ago when I said I think most people, there are more people like that. I don't think it's most people, Dave. I think that there are more people than what we know about or what we hear about. I think you're exactly right. A lot of entrepreneurs are like, I want to make money. And that's fine. That's fine. Make business. What does our country want us to do more than anything? Create a business. They want us to be new business makers. Fine. And some people, what you want to do is make money? Okay. But I think that there are more people like Jessica, like those of us who have started educational companies with an eye on both, that you can do both. That again, it's not necessarily always trumpeted, but I believe that they're out there, and this coming opportunity, what's next, could really, really help develop those things.
I think an important question, and then we can kind of sort of begin to wind the show down, would be, Jessica, help us understand that very dynamic. And I think this is like at the core of it, the dynamic of doing good in the world, which has value, and then making enough money to do good in the world. Where I think most people get trapped up is they think that just doing enough good in the world will create enough money to sustain that. And that's where I think most people fail, Matt, is that they don't have the business sense like Jessica does to say, okay, there's a balance here. So help us understand your balance and how you've established that balance.
So I basically said to Ian, I don't want to do anything with fundraising or grant writing. When we first started, I said, just let me take care of creating a profit that is fee-based. Let me just work on that. It's a fee-based product. And that ended up within the first 3 years, it was 50% of what we were doing. And they do, by the way, speaking of, I just want to put this out there. The fundraising that Dylan's Wings of Change has done is Ragnar's. Big Ragnar races, Ragnars and Umsteads. Yeah, so we're hooking that too, Matt. Are you a runner, Dave?
Yeah, he is. He's a marathon.
Oh yeah. Okay, I'm tapping the both of you. So, and I still don't do anything with fundraising.
Still can't do this right. There we go. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 marathons.
Yeah.
So I just told him I don't want to have anything to do with that. I left that to the board and him, and I said, let me just do what I know how to do, because this is what I know how to do, and this is what I can commit to, is all of this. And so that's what we're doing. And yeah.
So the for-profit started off as how much of a percentage of the business, and then it became what percentage of the business?
It started out as no percentage. They were giving away the program to schools.
Okay.
So it was all money given to the foundation.
Right. Okay.
After the shooting, and it was used that way, and it was just a free program given to schools. And I was like, no, this is.
And so, what was that struggle? I mean, what was that conversation? I'm thinking about that conversation between you and Ian, and it's like, okay, I have an idea, and I'd like to charge for this. And it's like,
well, he was so funny too, because he's like, well, maybe we could do like $20. Like, no, it's gonna be more like $100. Like that's, and then obviously you give sales or whatever, and we slowly built the program, and we've charged more, and now we're actually doing a big pivot, right? Because so everything that we do, so this has been our COVID crisis has been that the last 8 weeks. Figuring out how to deliver, because we call it team building, because that's what people understand. But really what it is experiential education, experiential activities that teach social and emotional learning. That's what we do. And so that's all in person. And everything is all about getting the body moving and doing something fun and playful. And now we're all online, right? So we've had to pivot and try to figure out. So our focus has always been to inspire empathy and courage and inclusion and connection everywhere. And so we recognized that there was a problem with teachers and kids being able to connect online. It's just not happening. There's a disconnect with the teacher, there's a disconnect with the kids. The kids miss each other terribly. And so the way we've done a pivot is we've now created these activities, very purposeful, fun activities that have nothing to do with learning math, dance, language arts, whatever. And it's just connecting with them on a human level. And getting them to talk about how they're making it through, helping them create some resiliency tools. But I'm not leading them, I'm facilitating it. They're working with each other, they're problem solving with each other. When you leave kids to come up with their own answers and you don't put any boxes or boundaries on them, they come up with brilliant stuff. As a matter of fact, Wingman, one of the kids asked Ian, is like, well, why do you call it Wingman? Because that kind of leaves women out. And then the kid, he goes, oh yeah. He goes, it's probably more like human, right? It's non-gender. And Ian goes, yeah, that's what we're thinking. This 7th grader figured it out for us, right, and taught us that. So we just really believe in facilitating and empowering kids, developing their skills through connection. I mean, the reality is, that's it. Mm-hmm. That's all we all need. And that's what we're all recognizing even with this crisis. We just need to connect better with each other on a human level and take off all the masks and just be, genuinely connect.
Yeah. All right, man, we are hitting that magic. I mean, look, we were shooting for an hour, and look what time it is. Sorry. Fantastic, and it's incredible. So, Jessica, thank you for your story. Thank you for coming on our podcast and gracing us with your story and your wisdom and the things that your experiences that you've been through. Hopefully, they are helpful to our audience who are trying to find ways to kind of navigate this craziness. So
can I say one more thing before we go?
Oh yes, go ahead.
Because it's really about this crisis and everybody that's out there. And I will tell you the one thing I've learned over and over and over again. And it's one of the Brené Brown quotes, and I feel like I've actually lived this, so I feel like I can say it confidently, that hope is not an emotion. Hope is learned. And that's one of my personal mantras. Like, you have to look for it. It's active like love. It's not static. It's not a noun. It's a verb.
Yeah. You have to make a conscious decision that I'm going to be optimistic in this scenario, whatever that scenario is. So I can identify with a lot of the, comments that you made about going through a very dark period, had my dark period, and thank God I had amazing people surround me that pulled me through that dark period. So it all goes back to that, we're right at 7:00 too. Oh, and the people of New York are shouting. Can we hear it?
This is what I love when you show this every night, Matt. It's the connection. It's. Let's see if we can hear it.
You might have to take your computer close to the window if you want us to hear it. So. All right, we're gonna close the show next week. Super excited to bring on another amazing entrepreneur that I have worked with and started like 8,000 businesses with already and mentored, and Ryan Sanderson from Knowledge Perk, Small Business Person of the Year here in little awesome York County, South Carolina.
People are going nuts. Friday night, 75 degrees out. It's awesome.
Hear it. But we're going to close out the show. We love you all. Thanks very much. And follow us on Twitter. Keep following us on Facebook. And we're going to figure out the Podbean thing soon enough. You can take us everywhere. All right, Jessica, thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Next week, guys.